On December 7, 2019, United Parents and students gathered to outline our policy plans for 2020 and beyond. After gathering hundreds of testimonies from community members and sharing some of those testimonies during our 6th annual assembly, we outlined what steps we are taking to fight back against Good evening and welcome to the 7th Annual United Parents and Students Assembly. Together we rise, a vision for change. Welcome everyone.
Buenas noches y bienvenidos a la 7ª Asamblea Anual de Padres y Estudiantes Unidos. Juntos nos levantamos, una visión para el cambio.
My name is Brianna Jordan, and I am the Youth Organizing Coordinator for UPAS. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I see we have over 300 people in attendance. If you have not already, share that link. We have a very exciting event planned that you do not want to miss.
Mi nombre es Roberto Guzmán, coordinador de enlace cívico, y mi colega Brianna es la coordinadora de organización juvenil de UPAS. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos esta noche. Tenemos un evento muy emocionante planeado y ahora Brianna va a anunciar a nuestros oficiales del día de hoy.
We will be joined tonight by a number of key officials, including Mayor Eric Garcetti, Supervisor Hilda Solis, Assemblymember Reggie Jones-Sawyer, Senator Ana Caballero, Senator Lena Gonzalez, Councilmember Curran Price, LAPD Chief Michael Moore, Deputy Chief Amada Tingarides, City Controller Ron Galperin, and the Housing and Community Investment Department Assistant General Manager Abigail Marquez. For those who don't know, United Parents and Students is a nonprofit organization committed to supporting families in learning and using the skills of community organizing to strengthen their schools and neighborhoods. We are so proud to serve 12,000 families in Los Angeles, California, Memphis, Tennessee, South King County, Washington, and we are beginning work in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Padres y Estudiantes Unidos es una organización sin fines de lucro comprometida a apoyar familias en aprender cómo organizar para fortalecer sus escuelas y vecindarios. Estamos muy orgullosos que representamos a 12,000 familias en Los Ángeles, California, Memphis, Tennessee, South King County, Washington, y hemos comenzado el trabajo en Albuquerque y Santa Fe, Nuevo México.
This year's assembly is called Together We Rise, a Vision for Change, because we know that we must stand together to fight for the future we deserve. Alone, it is difficult to make change or impact on the issues that matter most. But when we come together, we are stronger and we can create the change we need.
La asamblea de este año se llama Juntos nos levantamos, una visión para el cambio, porque sabemos que debemos unirnos para luchar para el futuro que merecemos. Solos es difícil hacer cambios o impactar los problemas que más importan, pero cuando nos unimos somos más fuertes y podemos crear el cambio que necesitamos.
In past years, as you all know, we've been able to gather together in person and fill public spaces like City Hall and Bovard Auditorium at USC to show public officials that we are united by a common conviction for justice and that together we will fight for our communities. Because of UPAS organizing, we have had major wins around grocery store quality, public safety, and campaigns like the Fight for 15, in which we helped raise the minimum wage in Los Angeles.
En años pasados nos juntamos en persona para enseñar a oficiales que estamos unidos para la convicción de justicia. En nuestros esfuerzos hemos tenido varias victorias alrededor de calidad de tiendas comestibles, seguridad pública y subiendo el sueldo mínimo.
While this year we can't physically be together in the same space, we can still stand with each other virtually. And I see we have over 360 attendees now, which is amazing. Let's take a look at what our assembly looked like last year to get a sense of the power we can have as a community.
Aunque no podemos estar juntos en persona, podemos todavía levantar nuestra voz virtualmente. Ahora vamos a ver nuestra asamblea del año pasado para tener una idea del poder que podemos tener como comunidad.
On December 7th, 2019, United Parents and Students gathered to outline our policy plans for 2020 and beyond. After gathering hundreds of testimonies from community members and sharing some of those testimonies during our 6th annual assembly, we outlined what steps we are taking to fight back against the housing crisis, gang violence, poor supermarket quality, and predatory lenders. In 2020, UPAS will be collaborating with the City of Los Angeles to expand access to affordable housing and improve rental protections. We will also work with the county to increase youth violence prevention services and to make access to high-quality supermarkets more equitable. Finally, UPAS will be organizing for greater access to fair credit options to combat predatory lending. We shared these plans with community partners and leaders who gave insight that would help push our strategies forward and committed to partner with us in making these plans a reality. For more detailed information of how we plan to fight back and to join us in this movement, visit www.unitedparentsandstudents.org and follow us on social media at United Parents and Students.
Pandemic has underscored almost all of those issues we focused on last year and has made many of our situations much worse. With schools and many businesses still closed, violence has gone up. In Los Angeles, for example, the murder rate is up 15% over last year. In Memphis, it is up 10%, and the number of shooting incidents in King County, Washington has risen 15%. Job loss due to COVID has led millions to lose jobs and struggle to put food on the table. Families are worried about how to pay rent and stay in their homes, and many students are facing intense challenges with distance learning. We refuse to let these issues continue.
La pandemia de COVID-19 ha definido muchos de los temas que nos enfocamos el año pasado y para muchos ha empeorado sus situaciones. Ha aumentado la violencia en nuestras comunidades y también por COVID muchos han perdido trabajo y se les ha visto difícil para poner comida en sus mesas. Nos negamos a dejar que estos problemas continúen.
This evening, we will be focused on 4 key issues: food justice, safety, affordable housing, and distance learning equity.
Esta noche nos concentramos en 4 temas claves. Justicia alimentaria, seguridad de viviendas asequibles y equidad de aprendizaje de distancia.
Together, we will be pushing the County of Los Angeles to invest in healthy food financing to increase the number of high-quality grocery stores that are located in our community. In regards to safety, we will be pushing for more alternative public safety strategies while also working to improve current policing practices. We will also be encouraging the county to strengthen funding for the Office of Violence Prevention and the city to do this GRID, which is the Gang Reduction and Youth Development Program. We will also be asking LAPD to increase community policing throughout the department.
Presionaremos al Condado de Los Ángeles para que invierta en financiamiento de alimentos saludables y aumentar la cantidad de tiendas de comestibles de alta calidad. Impulsaremos más estrategias alternativas de seguridad pública al mismo tiempo que trabajaremos para mejorar las prácticas policiales actuales. Alentaremos al condado para fortalecer los fondos para la Oficina de Prevención de Violencia y a la ciudad a hacer lo mismo para GRID, reducción de pandillas y desarrollo juvenil. También le pediremos al LAPD aumentar la vigilancia comunitaria en todo el departamento.
As it relates to housing, we will be pushing the city to implement the Fair LA plan to increase affordable housing and work with the state to strengthen eviction protections. Finally, we will be urging the city to implement a tutoring program to help combat the digital divide. Though the officials we will be hearing from tonight are largely from California, we recognize that the issues we will discuss are prevalent in cities we serve in Tennessee, Washington, and New Mexico, and we are committed to similar organizing in those regions based on local needs and context.
Con respecto a la vivienda, impulsaremos a la ciudad para que implemente el plan Fair LA para aumentar las viviendas asequibles y trabajaremos con el Estado para fortalecer las protecciones contra los desalojos. Finalmente, instaremos a la ciudad a implementar un programa de tutoría para ayudar a combatir la división digital. Aunque los funcionarios de que escuchamos esta noche son en gran parte de California, reconocemos que los problemas que discutimos prevalecen en las ciudades a las que servimos en Tennessee, Washington y Nuevo México. Y estamos comprometidos con una organización similar a estas regiones según las necesidades locales.
Again, we are so excited you're here with us. Shout out to my students, hello. But we want to make sure we know that everyone that's in attendance is here so we can thank you for your participation. So if you look in the description box of the YouTube video, you will see that there is a link for a Google form. You can just expand it if you don't see it. Please fill it out with your name and the names of anyone else who is watching with you. I'll give you about a minute or so to click on the link and fill out the form if you haven't already done so.
Estamos tan felices que están con nosotros esta tarde, pero queremos de estar seguros de quién está asistiendo. En la descripción en el video en YouTube hay un enlace para un formulario de Google. Por favor, llene este formulario con sus nombres y el nombre de todos que están presentes hoy. Les damos un minuto para que llenen este formulario.
The agenda for this evening is as follows. From 6:30 p.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, we will be working with public officials on our platform of issues. And then from 6 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, we will be in breakout sessions by region where we will debrief the event and discuss next steps. We will also have a raffle for an iPad in each of the breakouts, a brand new iPad. So you'll definitely want to join us for that part of the program. The links to the Zoom breakouts will be in the event description box here in YouTube. So a little bit later on, you'll see them below. The rooms will open as soon as this portion of the event concludes.
La agenda para esta noche es la siguiente. De 4:30 a 6 hora del Pacífico estaremos trabajando con funcionarios públicos en nuestra plataforma de asuntos. De 6 a 6:30 hora del Pacífico estaremos en sesiones de trabajo por región. También tendremos un sorteo para un iPad, so no se lo pierdan. Así que definitivamente quieren atender esta parte del programa de 6 a 6:30. Los enlaces para los grupos de Zoom están en la descripción del evento en YouTube. Vamos a abrir los salones de Zoom cuando termine esta porción de la asamblea.
So again, thank you all for being here this evening. I will now turn it over to UPAS partner, Deacon John Will from West Angeles Church, who will share an invocation with us.
Heavenly Father, who is above all and knows all, we ask you to bless our discussions and our meetings today. We want your wisdom to be present with your truth and power as we discuss safety issues in our cities, food security. God, we know people need to eat. Lord, help us. Distance learning for that student that's not getting enough contact with their teacher. Help us all to work together to solve that problem and the issues of housing in our cities.
So, Steve, it's not going to go back to me, right?
Bless us even across these areas of Memphis and Los Angeles, Albuquerque, and even Seattle, Lord. Help us to have better communities. Help our leaders to, in their responses to COVID, to consider all the needs of your people as they make these difficult decisions. Bless our families to be safe in their homes, and bless our elderly and those with comorbidities to be safe. Help us, Lord, to have a great discussions that move our communities forward. In your name we pray. Amen.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jonathan Garzón, and I'm a United Parents and Students Leader and graduate of Ánimo Ralph Bunch. Buenas tardes y gracias por estar unidos con nosotros esta tarde. Mi nombre es Jonathan Garzón y soy un líder de Padres y Estudiantes Unidos y un graduado de la Ánimo Ralph Bunch. In a few moments, we will be joined by Mayor Eric Garcetti. Garcetti is a fourth-generation Angelino and the 42nd Mayor of Los Angeles. His agenda is focused on creating a safe, livable, and prosperous city. We have worked closely with the mayor for many years now on issues ranging from raising the minimum wage to affordable housing to free college tuition, community college tuition. Mayor Garcetti has been with us since the beginning, meeting with United Parents in East LA back in 2015, addressing our annual assembly in 2016, and most importantly, by enacting uplifting policies for those that have struggled to self-improve. En unos momentos vamos a estar con el alcalde de Los Ángeles, Eric Garcetti. Él es un angelino de cuarta generación y el 42 alcalde de la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Su agenda se centra en crear una ciudad segura, habitable y próspera. Hemos trabajado mucho con el alcalde durante los últimos años en temas que van desde aumentar el salario mínimo hasta viviendas accesibles y matricular gratuita el colegio comunitario. El alcalde Garcetti ha estado con nosotros desde el principio. reuniéndose con nuestros líderes en el este de Los Ángeles al principio del 2015 y dirigiendo a nuestra asamblea anual en el 2006 y lo más importante, promulgando políticas para ayudar a las comunidades de Los Ángeles. The pandemic has made things worse for many in our neighborhood. United Parents and Students is concerned with keeping people in their parents and apartments, with keeping food on the table, with keeping kids safe in our parks and in our streets while our schools remain closed, and while preventing learning loss at the same time. During the pandemic, we have been working closely with the mayor's staff on eviction protection, rental assistance, food security, violence prevention, lost learning, and the addition of youth jobs and tutoring opportunities to assist low-income students. La pandemia ha empeorado las cosas para muchos de nosotros. Nosotros estamos preocupados por mantener a las personas en sus hogares, en sus apartamentos y por mantener la comida en la mesa y por mantener a los niños seguros en nuestros parques y en nuestras calles mientras nuestras escuelas están cerradas y por prevenir la pérdida del aprendizaje. Durante la pandemia hemos estado trabajando con el personal del alcalde en la protección del desalojo, la asistencia con la renta y la seguridad alimentaria, la prevención de violencia y la pérdida del aprendizaje y la incorporación de tutores pagados para ayudar a los estudiantes de bajos ingresos. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. Mr. Mayor, as you know, United Parents and Students is committing to fighting for racial, economic, and social justice by advocating for food access, affordable housing, violence prevention, and digital equity. Will you discuss the progress that has been made on these issue areas, and will you agree to continue to work with United Parents and Students in the years ahead as we fight together to make our city more equitable and inclusive? Señor alcalde, ¿podría hablar sobre el progreso que hemos logrado en estos temas y continuar trabajando con nuestros padres y estudiantes unidos en los próximos años mientras luchamos juntos para hacer nuestra ciudad y nuestras comunidades más equitativas y inclusivas?
Yes, I will take those actions. Sí, tomaré estas acciones. Y gracias por la invitación. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the invitation. Siempre es un placer estar con ustedes. I always love being with UPAS, and thank you to you and Larry and all the parents, todos los madres, las madres, los padres, toda la gente que son parte de este pueblo, el pueblo de Los Ángeles. And I want to thank the people of Los Angeles that UPAS embodies. Este es un año de mucho dolor, sufrimiento y estrés. This has been such a year filled with pain and suffering and stress. And I know how difficult it has been. I'm going to say some words in English. I'll say some words in Spanish at the end as well. But let me address specifically what you've asked and just thank you for the strength that you've shown, the love that you have shown to one another this year. Los Ángeles es lleno también de amor, de asistencia, de ayuda de los vecinos en este pueblo. It is those neighbors helping neighbors that I have witnessed and seen and am inspired by. And there's nothing more powerful than people coming together to make change, as UPAS has shown us. I'm your mayor, and I am so excited after 7 years to be able to see that spirit in Los Angeles. Nobody wanted a year like this year, but I've seen the strength of this city, the resilience of this city, and the hope of this city. And we have, as you mentioned, raised the minimum wage, the largest city in America to do that, to $15 an hour together, made community college, the largest city in the country to do that, boosting by 50% the number of public school graduates going to community college in just 2 years together. We've cleaned streets. We've made progress in making sure the air that we breathe and the environmental conditions we're subjected to. Look at us. Notice immigrants, communities of color, racial justice, gender justice. These are now values. Los valores de la justicia racial, justicia por toda la gente, por las mujeres, para nuestros niños, son valores integrales en nuestra lucha a mejorar la ciudad de Los Ángeles. And it's that power to reimagine our city and our country that lies in the hands of the people. Nuestro poder está en nuestras manos. And I'm inspired by what UPass and Green Dot schools have accomplished to create a grassroots voice for change. And today, I'm glad to join you and our friends from Tennessee and Washington State, as well as with so many state and county and city leaders who I know are going to be here, because 2020 has been an unprecedented year. We've heard that word over and over. Este no solamente es un crisis, es dos o tres o cuatro crisis. This is not just one single crisis. It's the crisis of una pandemia, the pandemic, la recesión económica or economic recession, y también el grito, the cry for racial justice, para justicia racial, together with the ongoing crisis of our climate that we see in fires burning around us, the smoke in our air. We know that these are what we are called to. But we have a moment in this deep moment of suffering to be optimistic, because Americans turned out in record numbers to change our president, to say goodbye to the hate and the division of Donald Trump, the stigmatizing of immigrants, the racism that we saw come openly onto the streets of our country has been rejected. And we will have a new president on January 20th. Mark my words, no matter what Donald Trump says, we will have a new president. And I was proud to be the co-chair of that campaign. Here in Los Angeles, we give a model to what the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration can do in Washington. Equity is part of everything we do. For instance, when COVID-19 hit, I appointed an equity officer, and we saw African Americans dying at twice the rate of their population in LA and across the country. So we surged tests to lower income areas where African Americans and immigrants and other folks without a lot of resources and medical attention lived. And we were able to bring those deaths down to under the represented population, to offer the first big city to offer testing to you whether you have symptoms or not. And I want you all to know you can still get free testing, a free flu vaccine, whether you have symptoms or not. Sign up for a test, especially right now, because this will be the worst moment in this fight. Este momento es el momento más peor en esta lucha contra COVID-19. Por favor, toma una prueba gratis. Visite el sitio de internet coronavirus.lacity.org/testing. Go to punto en español, to coronavirus.lacity.org/testing, or call us at 311, llámanos 311. And this city has also been focused not just on saving lives, but how do we save livelihoods? We want to make sure nobody becomes homeless. In a homeless crisis that we're seeing in Los Angeles and across this nation, we want no more people out on the streets, which is why we enacted the first moratorium on evictions. You cannot be evicted by your landlord during COVID-19. We put the largest tenant rental assistance, over $100 million out there, and we're spending another $70 million of that before the end of the year. We came up with the Angelino card, raised $45 million, specifically also to help immigrants. And both our rental assistance program and our Angelino card are available to immigrants sin or con papeles. It doesn't matter what your status is here. You are a person contributing to Los Angeles and to America, and we should be stepping up and helping you. At every stage of our response, we've used our family source centers, 16 places you can go to help you with everything from getting into college to crisis counseling, to whether you've been a victim of domestic violence or need tax or legal assistance. And we've been using those places to give free referrals for food distribution programs and millions of meals that we are paying for and serving to our seniors and other vulnerable Angelinos. And our work source centers are a place, if you're out of work, that you can go and get a job. Yes, there are places that are hiring even in a pandemic, or help you apply for your state unemployment benefits and find new opportunities. And I want to talk for a moment, because we saw thousands of people on the street calling out for a next step forward in how we address public safety and policing. And we saw the images of George Floyd dying under the knee of an officer in Minneapolis. We've made huge strides here in Los Angeles. I personally think we have so many heroes that are in our police department who put their lives on the line, some of whom we've lost. I'm not somebody who wants to demonize police officers, and I'm not somebody who will ignore the racism that we see. We have to confront both truths, that there are good people, but we have to have even better approaches to public safety. That's why we've built on exactly what you said in the introduction, expanding our gang reduction and youth development programs to take civilians to help supplement what our police officers do and get between violence and stop it. Invest in young people before they become gang members. Help those who have been criminally justice involved expunge their records, get jobs, get out of jail, and get into college. And that work, to me, is the most important work, whether it's having mental health teams that roll out that are not police officers, so we don't put that on their shoulders, or whether it's suicide prevention and homelessness outreach teams. You will see in the next few months Los Angeles lead that effort. But it's the community safety partnership that shows the very best of policing and the very best of community that I recently expanded. It is now a bureau in the Los Angeles Police Department. What is it? Simply put, instead of officers being there for a couple years and moving on, you're stationed in an area for 5 years, and you get to know the names of the young people and the families there, and they get to know your name. And half of your job is community relations and building trust. Of course, you respond to crime, but you're not a stranger in an alien neighborhood. You become a part of the family of those neighborhoods, together with the civilians who know you and pay your check. We have seen so many expressions of hope and of change. And as I bring my remarks to a close, we can't return to normal after COVID because normal didn't work for too many people. Our economy leaves too many people in poverty. Our housing market leaves too many people homeless. Our environment, while we've made huge strides, still leave us with some of the worst air in America. And our climate is calling out for us to address the change on our earth. We have to do things better and reimagine the future. So I hope you will join with us to do that. Whether it's us getting broadband connections to our public housing developments that we just recently announced so that people can get free internet regardless of their zip code or their income for students who have to learn at home, or whether it's the young people on this call, I want you to know the young people, you are not the leaders of tomorrow, you're the leaders of today. You took to the streets on racial justice, you push us forward on climate, you are the ones leading the campaign to end gun violence in our community. And if you just graduated from high school, I encourage you to consider LA College Promise. It's the country's largest free college program. Don't give up on your dreams because of this pandemic. Don't let COVID-19 close out your college vision. We are not only getting people into college, but giving them free laptops, free transportation, free tutoring, and free access to paying jobs. So you have until January 25th to apply to enroll for the spring at lacollegepromise.org. We're also offering jobs to young people through Hire LA's Youth, so you can get skills and a paycheck, do distance learning, and have an academic tutor. And we encourage you to go there to look for jobs at hirelasYouth.com as well. Finalmente, yo quiero decir unas palabras en español también. Aquí en Los Ángeles, los jóvenes, nuestros jóvenes, no son líderes del futuro, son líderes de hoy. Y esperamos que nosotros podamos trabajar muy duro a proteger las vidas de nuestras familias, nuestras personas de tercera edad, pero también a dar las inversiones que nuestros jóvenes merecen. UPAS es un ejemplo de este. El poder del pueblo, la idea que juntos somos más fuertes, más inteligentes, más visionarios cuando somos un parte de un equipo. Y como su alcalde, continuaremos a luchar por sus vidas, por su prosperidad y por la justicia aquí en Los Ángeles. Y yo tengo mucho orgullo y optimismo este punto oscuro con mucho sufrimiento. También es un momento de un poco de luz. La luz de cambio en Washington, la luz de su fortaleza, su fuerza juntos y este proyecto a organizar y movilizar el pueblo de Los Ángeles. With that, I want to hand it back to you, angels in this city of angels. We're never going to stop working hard. We're never going to stop collaborating with UPAS, and let's save lives and livelihoods in the months ahead. Muchísimas gracias, and thanks so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti. We look forward to working with you in the coming months on these important issues. This evening, we will be hearing from parent and student leaders about their vision for a healthy, safe, and affordable communities for all. We will then hear from other government officials at the city, county, and state level who will respond to concerns and share how we can all work together to build the communities we deserve and need. Gracias, alcalde Garcetti. Esperamos trabajar con usted en los próximos meses en estos temas importantes. Y esta noche escucharemos a los padres y estudiantes líderes sobre su visión de comunidades saludables, seguras, accesibles para todos. Luego escuchará a otros funcionarios de nivel de la ciudad, del condado y del estado que responderán a nuestras inquietudes y compartirán cómo podemos trabajar juntos para construir las comunidades que necesitamos y merecemos. Before we move on, just a reminder to all of our attendees to please fill out the attendance form link in the description below if you have not done so already. Un recordatorio para los que no han completado el formulario, por favor tomen un minuto, la link está en la descripción abajo. Over the next hour, we are excited to have an in-depth conversation around each of the issue areas mentioned earlier, to discuss the work we have already done, our next steps, and to hear from public officials about the ways they can support these crucial solutions. Durante la próxima hora nos entusiasma tener conversaciones sobre estos temas y hablar sobre los próximos pasos. We will begin with the issue of food justice. Here to introduce how United Parents and Students has improved supermarket quality is parent leader Vicky Vaughn. Vamos a empezar esta noche con el primer tema de la justicia alimentaria y aquí para hablar de ese tema está nuestra líder de padres, Vicky Vaughn.
Good evening. My name is Vicky Vaughn, and I am a United Parents and Student Leader. UPAS recognizes that there is a need to improve the quality of the supermarkets in our community. We also recognize that the supermarkets in our community should have affordable prices as well as healthy options. This is why we have advocated for the change in the existing policies in relationship to these issues. For a long time, our organization has been an advocate for food justice. But times are different now. COVID-19 pandemic has hit, and it has affected our families. Many families have lost their income and are unable to feed their family. But through One Family LA, UPAS has been able to distribute over $130,000 in gift cards to help families make ends meet. But we need long-term solutions that address the problem of food insecurity in our communities. We would like to thank Supervisor Solis, who is here with us today, for her tremendous leadership around food justice. At our last assembly, we discussed the passage of Improving Supermarket Quality motion by the Board of Supervisors, authored by Supervisor Solis in response to UPAS organizing. We are excited to announce that as a result of this motion, the Department of Public Health has taken the following steps this year. First, they have implemented a new training curriculum for all grocery store inspections on how to address food quality issues, particularly through identifying the root causes of spoiled and moldy products that are expired, with store managers, and we are also talking with store presidents. Secondly, we have created a new grocery store card. It will now include the grade as well as the phone number and a QR code. There will be a website where customers can report issues. These new cards will be released in January. Third, they have added the ability to make complaints about spoiled food, unclean floors, and unsafe conditions in grocery stores to the Public Store Works app. Just search LA County The Works in your phone app store, and you can make a report under Retail Food Operations. Now you can upload the photos and comment about best practices you see, and it will go straight to environmental health, and they will follow up with the store. In addition to increasing the quality of existing grocery stores, we are also working to increase the number of high-quality grocery stores that are locating and expanding in our communities. This was a need prior to the pandemic, but we have seen that COVID-19 has made the situation much worse. On behalf of the Increasing Access to High-Quality Supermarkets Coalition, comprised of UPAS, the American Heart Association, Community Health Councils, and USC-CAC Community Partnerships, we urge the county to invest in Fresh Works or a similar healthy food financing program, and to challenge other funders in Los Angeles to match this investment to enable and incentivize more high-quality stores to locate and expand in South and East Los Angeles County, as well as Compton and Inglewood. Stores are often unable to expand due to high cost of real estate and pre-development. FreshWorks provides grants and loans that can make expansion possible for excellent stores we need in our community. Supervisor Solis, will you work with UPAS in the coming year to identify these ways to increase healthy food financing in this county?
Hello and good evening. My name is Hilda Solis, and I represent the County of Los Angeles, the 1st Supervisorial District. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to thank the United Parents and students for inviting me to speak with you today. I would also like to thank all community members joining us via social media. My understanding is that we have over 300 parent and student leaders joining us today throughout Los Angeles. It is my honor to congratulate you on being the initial proposers of the Grocery Voucher Program funded through the CARES Act. Your work around food insecurities was critical in leveraging the Grocery Voucher Program, and I'm so honored that we were able to work together to accomplish this together. Your advocacy on housing, food justice, and alternative public safety strategies is very commendable. Food justice through supermarket quality improvement is part of a larger effort to address health inequalities that contribute to chronic diseases. Our communities deserve access to high quality and fresh foods.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis. We look forward to working with you in the coming year to help ensure that everyone in Los Angeles County has access to healthy and affordable food. We would also like to thank First Five and Prevention Institute for their tremendous support of these efforts and commitment to food access. We will now transition to a discussion of community safety.
Good evening. My name is Felicia Stinson, and I'm a UPAS leader. UPAS believes that all students, parents, and community members should feel safe in their own neighborhoods. Unfortunately, during this COVID-19 pandemic, with so many people out of work and facing unprecedented levels of stress, we've seen a rise in violent crimes. As we mentioned in the beginning, in Los Angeles, the murder rate is up 15% from last year. This summer, we also saw massive protests for Black lives after the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd at the hands of law enforcement. As we work together to reimagine what public safety looks like in Los Angeles, we want to push for alternative public safety strategies like violence prevention and gang intervention programs, while we also work to improve current policing practices so that everyone in the communities feels safe.
Hello, my name is Irma Preciado and I am a UPAS leader. My son attends Animo Florence Firestone Middle School. In 2018, Los Angeles County launched the Trauma Prevention Initiative with a budget of $2 million. Of those $2 million, 30% of that budget is spent on violence prevention programs such as street interventions and outreach in Westmont, Florence Firestone, East Compton, and Willowbrook. We, alongside the Youth Justice Work Group, urge the county to increase funding for violence prevention efforts and to double the funding for the Trauma Prevention Initiative to at least $4 million. This budget expansion could be used by each of the partner organizations to address community needs in a variety of ways, including increasing the number of intervention and prevention workers in each area, expanding programs to work at schools, additional staff positions, and in other ways that best suit the needs of the community. We are particularly interested in adding additional resources to existing regions, but also adding East Los Angeles as a region served by the Office of Violence Prevention. Supervisor Solis, in late September, the board voted on a motion to determine how to fund the implementation of the Office of Violence Prevention's strategic plan, which UPAS strongly supported. Do you commit to work to add East Los Angeles as a region covered by the OVP and to work with the board to identify funding sources to implement the strategic plan?
Throughout my time on the Board of Supervisors, I've also advocated for the transformation of Los Angeles County's justice system. Los Angeles County's Alternatives to Incarceration Initiative and the Office of Diversion and Reentry have highlighted the shifting focus from punishment and incarceration to support and diversion. As a county, we will continue to work to address the disproportionate impact of racial and economic inequalities in our communities. Investments in our future leaders through youth development programs, job training, affordable housing projects, and community-based health services are key to our success. On behalf of the County of Los Angeles and my district, I would once again like to thank you for your service to all of our local residents that reside in the county. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis. While the Office of Violence Prevention is focused on the county, we know that violence prevention is also crucial in the city. UPAS has long been a supporter of the city's Gang Reduction and Youth Development, or GRID program. In a study conducted of GRID from 2014 to 2017, the South LA study region experienced a 41.2% reduction in gang-related retaliation homicides and aggravated assaults as a result of the program's efforts. During this critical time when cities and law enforcement agencies are reimagining public safety, gang intervention services are a crucial part of a community-based public safety response. UPAS stands with Urban Peace Institute and the Los Angeles Intervention Coalition in calling for the city to invest $54 million to expand the work of essential peacemakers through the GRID program. These funds would encompass a number of needed support for GRID. In particular, to increase pay for intervention workers and retroactive hazard pay for the duration of the pandemic. Since GRID began in 2008, intervention workers have not received pay raises, nor cost of living increases in recognition of their work. We also call for these funds for intervention agencies to be able to hire additional intervention workers and ambassadors to further decrease violence and increase public safety that is not reliant on law enforcement. Tonight we are pleased to have with us LA City Councilmember Price. Councilmember Price has been a longtime ally of UPAS who spoke at all of our previous assemblies and has been an advocate for the alternative safety strategies throughout the city. Councilmember Price, will you work to increase the budget for GRID to support these critical services?
Well, I certainly will. As part of reimagining public safety, one of our goals was to shift funds from the police department to the community, especially to communities of color. And so I was happy to be an author of the motion to redirect $150 million to do just that. And let me tell you, we appreciate the unique role that GRID has played in the community. And I think we should be providing more resources to them so that they can be involved, more actively engaged in the prevention phase. And these workers certainly deserve better pay, more benefits, more training, but we want to make sure that we are providing these resources. In CD9, we've got the Safe Passage program in Vermont Square. Grid workers have been very, very effective in connecting with the community, with students, and with those at risk. And so I want to make sure that we have the resources available for intervention, for prevention. I am committed to making that occur, and I'm happy to be a part of the process of reimagining public safety so that we can shift funds and do it in a way that better benefits our communities.
Thank you, Councilmember Price. We look forward to working with the LA City Council in the upcoming year to help strengthen the GRID program.
Hello, my name is Tracy Thomas, and I am a parent leader with United Parent and Students. We believe we need alternative public safety strategies through GRYD and the Office of Violence Prevention, but we also believe that the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department needs to change many of their practices. UPAS has long supported the Community Safety Program, a policing program premised on relationship building with the community. UCLA Luskin recently completed a year-long study of the program and found that it produced a greater reduction in crime than the traditional form of policing used in the areas surrounding CSP sites. This reduction in crime was achieved at the same time there were lower numbers of arrests made and incidents of police force used against community members by CSP officers. Perhaps most importantly, the evaluation found that the majority of community members supported the program, trusted its officers, and wanted to see it continue. We are thrilled that in July, LAPD Chief Michael Moore announced the creation of a Community Safety Partnership Bureau and promoted Captain Imada Tindarides to Deputy Chief overseeing the Bureau. We are grateful to have both Chief Moore and Deputy Chief Tindarides with us this evening. Chief Moore, tell us about why it was important to you to create this bureau and your hopes for community policing throughout LAPD in the coming years.
Well, it was important for me to create the Community Safety Partnership Bureau because it's a program whose origin dates back nearly a decade ago with Miss Connie Rice and Georgia Leap and Chief Charlie Beck and Amada Tindarides and others that stepped into a conversation about how do we build trust in communities, particularly those communities that are most impacted by violent crime, most have suffered the greatest in the sense of loss of life and dangerous conditions. And how do we, in those communities, build better relationships with the police, lower the instances of violence, improve a sense of safety, and also the trust of the police, that officers are seen as protectors, as guardians, instead of an occupying force. So the last 10 years, we've done these sites, and it's grown to 10 different sites across Los Angeles. But yet as we looked at those, we found that they weren't always done in the same manner. And while there were many good intentions, that the fidelity, the adherence to the Community Safety Partnership model, which is building that trust through outreach and engagement, through areas taking responsibilities, those communities taking responsibilities for their own safety, and us helping and being a partner in that it could be improved by bringing a central oversight, by bringing a leader to the engagement that would remove organizational barriers, cultural differences, and really take that program to the next level. Deputy Chief Amada Tindarides is that woman, she's that police officer, that leader, and I saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate our resolve that community safety partnerships, community policing, community engagement, that's the DNA for 21st century policing and for 2021 and beyond.
Deputy Chief Tindarides, tell us about your initial work with the Bureau and priorities for the coming months.
So I've had the opportunity to be involved with the CSP program since 2011. I actually helped implement and create and co-author really what this relationship-based policing program was about. I grew up in the community of Watts. When I became a young police officer, I knew I wanted to go back to the community that I grew up in to make a difference. When we started the program in 2011, it gave me an opportunity to lead officers into this type of policing model. I have been so fortunate to work with these communities over the past decade, to really get to know them, to understand their needs. And when the Chief of Police decided to create the Community Safety Partnership Bureau, I was selected to be the Deputy Chief to oversee it because of my experience, because of my involvement over the past 10 years. I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I'm looking forward to continuing the collaboration with the community. And most importantly, I look forward to highlighting the work that the Los Angeles Police Departments are doing within our communities. I have several priorities in standing up the Community Safety Partnership Bureau. I think one of the most important things that we've done thus far is meeting with the community to explain to them the purpose of the program. Also meeting with the officers to ensure that they understand the mission and the vision of what the Community Safety Partnership Program is all about. In the next coming months, we're hoping to create a training that not only CSP officers will get, but that officers across the Los Angeles Police Department will get. That training will consist of relationship-based building, truth and reconciliation, understanding the culture and the histories of our communities, and how to really collaborate with the existing resources within the community to make change. As we build the Bureau out, we're also hoping that all of the officers assigned to the Community Safety Partnership Program understand their mission, they understand the vision, and they understand the purpose of deepening relationships and the impact that it has not only on reducing crime in the community, but building trust and relationships within the community to make it safe for everyone.
Thank you, Chief Moore and Deputy Chief Tingerides. We look forward to working with you as you build this important bureau. While we recognize that changes need to be made throughout the LAPD, we also know that many of our families reside outside the city of LA and interact with other law enforcement agencies, such as the Sheriff's Department. These changes to policing needs to be made across the state. Tonight, we have with us Assembly Member Mike Gibson, who represents the 64th District, which includes areas of Watts, Willowbrook, Compton, and Carson. Assemblymember Gibson, as the chair of the Special Committee on Police Reform, how will you work to embed practices of community policing and alternative public safety strategy across law enforcement agencies throughout the state?
Hey family, my name is Mike Gibson. I serve as the State Assembly member representing the 64th State Assembly District. I hope and pray that everyone is remaining healthy and also safe during these very, very difficult times. But I guarantee we will get through this, and we will get through this together. I want to also thank United Parents and Students for inviting me to be part of this conversation and greeting each and every one of you virtually. Let me simply say this. I grew up in Watts. I grew up with a number of challenges. I grew up also wanting to become a police officer, and I became a police officer, and I'm proud of that. Even though I haven't been a police officer in over 30 years, I did that work to become a change agent and make people's lives better and protect our community from bad people. Most importantly, the Speaker of the California State Assembly appointed me as the chair of the Select Committee on Police Officer Reform here in California. And I am thrilled that he's done that. We are taking this work very, very seriously. Someone who grew up in the community know that our communities have changed, but also know that real reform in police and law enforcement is absolutely critical in this day and age. And so we want to create policies that weed out the bad people so that the good people can actually serve and protect our community. I realize that there has to be a bridge to being built, and that bridge is between community and law enforcement. Also, we need to make sure that law enforcement is accountable and also transparent, because we can't have a one-sided relationship. And so I believe that through this work and through this lens and the incredible people who are part of my select committee, which is about 15 people that comes from various walks of life who are assembly members, we will accomplish the goal and the task that's before us. Listen, because of George Floyd and because of his death, I had to stand up. And I had to stand up. Dr. Martin Luther King said that silence is a form of betrayal. I will not be found guilty of being silent on the things that matter, Dr. King said. And nor should any one of you be silent on the things that matter. So we created Assembly Bill 1196 that banned chokeholds and the carotid artery restraints, and that was a method that was used to kill George Floyd. We take this position very seriously, very clear of thought, and very soberly, to making sure that we have real reform in the state of California. I want to say thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to greet each and every one of you from this space. I look forward to one day being able to connect with you personally. My mother always said, baby, if anybody does anything, just simply say thank you. I want to say thank you all for listening and for being great drum majors for justice and partnering with me in the work that we seek to do together. Thank you so very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gibson. My name is Kevin Armstrong, and I'm the Regional Coordinator of Organizing here in Memphis, Tennessee. In our UPAS chapter, community safety and violence prevention are a shared top priority. UPAS Tennessee has made several strides to combat violence in the communities that we serve. Parents and students in the Whitehaven community, working closely with Councilman J.B. Smiley, were able to secure SkyCop cameras which assist with community policing. Let's hear more from Councilman Smiley as he tells us about his commitment to UPAS Tennessee and making sure that communities are safe in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Councilman J.B. Smiley Jr. I just wanted to commend United Parent and Students on all of the hard work in the Memphis community. Recently, we had an opportunity to collaborate to have a SkyCop cam installed in the area that was essential to the parents and the students. And it was apparent early on that they were committed to making a difference in my district, but not only my district, all throughout the city of Memphis. So it was a no-brainer for me to begin collaborating and hopefully form a long-lasting partnership as we work to improve all things Memphis. We hope to address such issues such as digital equity, food deserts, food insecurity, affordable housing. And I know with the dedication and the consistency and determination of UPAS, all things will be possible. So I look forward to partnering with you and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilmember Smiley. We will now transition to another pressing issue, housing.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Melendez, and I'm a student leader at Animal Watts. UPAS believes that everyone should have a safe and healthy place to live. California has been working to find solutions to our housing crisis for many years, but the COVID-19 pandemic has only exaggerated the problems we face. For 5 long years, my family lived tripled up, but not by choice. This meant we had to share one room, one restroom, one kitchen, and one living room with 10 other people in the house. My family often never left our room because the house was always too crowded. My mom often applied for housing, but landlords always asked for thousands of dollars for down payments. The first month, the last month, and security deposits. It's just too much. In desperation, my mother also applied for public housing. We found out that there were also almost 3,000 families ahead of us. My mother, sister, and I finally were able to rent a converted back house, but the pandemic has increased our expenses dramatically. We are on the verge of losing everything we worked on so hard to get. Tonight, we have with us a longtime UPAS ally, LA City Controller Ron Galperin, who will share with us about the impact of COVID-19 on housing and employment. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am so pleased to join you. Thank you so much to all the parents and students for putting this program together and for all that you're doing to uplift all of our communities. I believe everyone deserves a healthy and safe place to live. is as essential to our very existence as nourishment and the air that we breathe. Unfortunately, safe and decent housing is out of reach for too many in our country, our state, and particularly in our city of Los Angeles. For many families, the cost of housing takes up more than 50% of their income, and tens of thousands in the LA area alone are without any housing at all. This problem has grown into a crisis, especially with the impacts of COVID-19. America has lost tens of millions of jobs during the pandemic, including hundreds of thousands in the city of Los Angeles. And COVID-19 has amplified the devastation felt by low-income neighborhoods and communities of color, highlighting just how much economic injustice truly exists in our city. Government, and especially local government, has an important role to play in addressing the challenges of housing and of homelessness, but government must use those powers more effectively. As controller of the city of LA, it's my job to examine how we use the people's money to be more responsive to the needs of the community. To do this by examining closely the efforts and the spending of our city. To that end, I've done multiple analyses and reviews of city programs, and I've made many recommendations of how our city can and must improve. You can find these reports and recommendations and my analysis of what progress has or hasn't been made at lacontroller.org. I believe we need to make dramatic changes in how we are addressing the challenges of housing, and that we need more immediate ways to address the homelessness crisis. We can't just stay the course, especially during this global pandemic, which is why I've recommended a near-term action plan to stand up more interim housing and facilities and repurpose or rehab existing buildings to get people off the streets more quickly. My parents immigrated to this country in search of what they call the American dream. They spoke almost no English when they arrived, but thankfully were able to create a good life for themselves and for their children. For too many individuals and families, however, the dream of a better life remains a challenge. I have faith in the people of our city and the future of our city, and I believe that we can overcome these challenges by demanding more and better results from our city and its leaders, by working together, by seeking new solutions for new times. Looking at the work you are doing and how you bring people together, I believe we can, and we must, and we will do so. Si se puede. Thank you.
Thank you, Controller Galperin. My name is Juana Quiñones, and I am a UPAS student leader and a graduate of Animo Venice. Though families in California are currently protected from evictions by both state and local protections, many of us are worried about what will happen when those protections end and we are unable to pay the rent we owe. We must ensure that no more people fall into homelessness as a result of COVID-19. Tonight we have with us Senator Ana Caballero, who has been working to extend eviction protections throughout the state. Senator Caballero, we appreciate your work on SB 1410 to protect tenants during this unprecedented time. While we were sad to hear that SB 1410 did not pass, we appreciate you and your colleagues' work to protect renters from eviction with AB 3088. However, AB 3088 only protects renters for a few months in 2021, and we know that so many people will not be able to pay back the rent they owe in March. How will you work in the next legislative session to ensure renters are protected throughout the duration of the pandemic and beyond?
Hi, I'm State Senator Ana Caballero from the 12th Senate District. Thank you for the opportunity to join you here today. It's a particular honor for me because students and parents and community members have organized to make change in your community. And that's the heartbeat and the soul of all of our communities, is being able to go out and tell people about the challenges that you face and organize them to be allies for you. In my history, I have made it a point to listen to the stories that people have to tell me, because those stories help inform the kind of legislation that I work on. And it's because of that that I did so much work around the landlord-tenant stabilization bill and around trying to create the opportunity to build more affordable housing in our communities. The bill that was ultimately signed by the governor involved negotiation between the Senate and the Assembly and the Governor's office. And though there were a lot of things that would have been better to have in that bill, given that we were under a timeline and because of the COVID restrictions, we put together what we thought was the best bill that we could to get us through the winter to February. Now what we're doing is looking at what we need to do next, because we know that this pandemic is not going to stop tomorrow, and that when we return, we get sworn in again in December, but we don't return until January. It is anticipated that this COVID will be raging. And if in fact it is, we're going to need some solutions way past February. And there are a number of us that are working on looking at how we can make the bill that we passed an even better bill. So what's important to me is for you to understand that we desperately need your input. We need you to tell your stories. We need you to help us to understand what changes we need to make, and that your participation is going to be really critical to us getting something that really works. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. Thank you for your activism. It can make tremendous change in our community, and know that I am an ally, that I'm there for you, and that I want to hear your stories, and I want to be the champion to be able to make the changes that we need to make. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Caballero. We are also proud to have with us Senator Lina Gonzalez, Chair of the Special Committee on Pandemic Emergency Response. Senator Gonzalez, we appreciate your work to help mitigate the effects of the pandemic throughout California. Along with Senator Caballero and your colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly, how will you work to ensure that renters are protected from evictions throughout the pandemic and beyond, understanding that so many Californians have been out of work and will not have the funds to pay back the rent they owe at the end of the pandemic?
Thank you for the question. And because of COVID-19 and the current public health and economic crisis, many California families are faced with a difficult decision to choose between paying for rent or food or figuring out how to, get their kids to school. And too many Californians are currently facing eviction or homelessness. And of the Californians paying unaffordable rents, almost 70% of them are people of color. As we wait for the federal government to pass legislation to provide much needed financial relief, I am glad to say that the state of California has passed legislation to address some of the renter protections, homeowner protections, and housing issues. I am proud to have supported and voted yes to support AB 3088, which was recently signed by Governor Newsom. AB 3088, which is known as the Tenant, Homeowner, and Small Landlord Relief and Stabilization Act of 2020, protects renters, small landlords, and homeowners who are unable to pay their rents or mortgages in the COVID-19 pandemic. For those tenants who can't pay their full rent during the period of March 1st from this year to January 31st of next year, because of COVID-19, there are protections against eviction. So you can stay in your home and you won't be threatened with having to leave and possibly being homeless. These protections apply to all residential tenants, including mobile homes and including people that are of undocumented status. So it doesn't matter whether you're undocumented or not, you should still be protected. Also, for homeowners or small landlords who have federally backed mortgages, they can request forbearance or a delay in their payments pursuant to the Federal CARES Act. If no forbearance is offered, the lender has to provide a detailed description explaining why it was denied. As we prepare for the next legislative session, it would be in the best interest for vulnerable Californians to pass immediate and ambitious statewide program that can provide direct financial assistance during this crisis. Unfortunately, we do not know how long this crisis is going to last, and we're only in the first phase of it right now. So direct financial assistance, in my opinion, is what we need to give every Californian so that they can maintain their homes. Moving forward, we should be able to look to address all the issues that affect the housing insecurities that we are facing, building affordable housing and ensuring that renters and homeowners are protected and given direct financial assistance. So with that, I want to say thank you for this question, and I look forward to more.
Thank you, Senator Caballero and Gonzalez. We appreciate your work in keeping Californians in their homes during this crisis, and we hope that your work can serve as a model for our members in Washington and Tennessee as well.
My name is Evelyn Amaral, and I'm a UPAS leader. I am an alumni of Anima Watts College Preparatory Academy, and I'm currently attending college at Cal State LA. While the pandemic has created an unpredicted need for eviction protections, Los Angeles has been dealing with housing crisis that began way before COVID-19 and it has continued for way too long. We need long-term solutions to provide all Angelenos with affordable housing and options across the city. We want to ensure that affordable housing is located in areas with good access to transit and areas with schools and parks and is located near job centers. In 2021, Los Angeles is required to update the housing element, the plan for how to distribute housing throughout the city, and is required by state to allocate 456,000 new units. United Parents and Students stands with our allies, Abundant Housing Los Angeles, and advocate for a fair housing plan. Under the Fair Housing Plan, LA City Council would ensure that the Department City of Planning develops housing growth targets for each community that meets citywide obligations, including affordable housing targets. Housing should be allocated across the city based on objective criteria, which will ultimately lead to lower rent across the city. Will you commit to working with United Parents and Students and Abundant Housing LA in the upcoming year to meet the housing needs for all Angelenos as the city goes through housing element process? And will you commit to allocating housing targets throughout the city as based on the formula developed by Fair LA Plan?
Well, I'm fully committed to supporting affordable housing services and permanent supportive housing services in our district. Already, we know citywide there are about 60% of the population are renters. In our district, that's probably as near 80%. And so it's always a challenge to make sure that we're providing the housing that's available to meet the needs. I'm proud to say that in CD9, we have over 1,000 units of affordable housing coming online within the next several months. In addition to that, 872 units are going to be for homeless individuals with wraparound services. And again, these are programs that really reflect the needs of our community.
Thank you, Councilmember Price. We look forward to working with City Council offices in the upcoming year to ensure that there is access to affordable housing in areas in Los Angeles. We will now transition to our final topic of the evening, supporting distance learning and closing digital divide.
My name is Iglali Cortez and I am a UPAS leader at Animal South LA. During the pandemic, it's been a very stressful and difficult time for all students and parents. Majority of my classmates, along as myself, have difficulty when it comes to internet access, which does affect our learning time. The closure of schools and the burdens of distance learning is difficult for all students and parents, but the weight and the effect falls disproportionately on low-income families who cannot afford to hire tutors and private teachers and often lack access to technology. We must all come together to ensure that these students have the resources they need to succeed. During distance learning, we have seen that access to Wi-Fi is essential, both for students who are learning through Zoom and for parents and family members that need access to crucial information and resources. Unfortunately, Wi-Fi access is spotty throughout our community, and especially when multiple students live together, it could be difficult to access virtual classes. In addition to working on eviction defense, Senator Gonzalez has been working to increase access to Wi-Fi for everyone throughout the pandemic. Senator Gonzalez, you have been in the forefront on working to close the digital divide to ensure that all Californians, especially those in poor urban and rural areas, have access to internet. Though SB 11 did not pass, we appreciate you for fighting for internet access for all. Do you commit to working with the United Parents and Students in the upcoming year to close down the digital divide? And how can we work together to the closing legislative cycle to ensure that all students have the internet access they need?
Thank you so much for the question on the digital divide. This is something I have been working on for a very long time, even before I got to the state Senate. As a Long Beach City Council member, I had been working on the digital inclusion roadmap, which the city is still working on right now. And then when I got to the state Senate, even before COVID-19 hit, I wanted to make sure that this was a mainstay and an important piece of legislation that I continued to carry. And then COVID-19 hit, and it only exacerbated and shone a light on the existing inequities in the state of California on the digital divide. It's not fair that kids in South LA or Southeast Los Angeles or kids in rural communities don't have high-speed, reliable, fast internet. It's not fair. And so SB 1130 would have been a great opportunity to help address the state's digital divide by promoting high-speed broadband deployment in the communities that need it the most. Low-income communities, rural communities, urban communities like Los Angeles, where census tracts show that there is no internet service or very low speeds. SB 1130 would have required the California Public Utilities Commission to implement and expand the California Services Fund program, which is a fund that you currently pay into. You pay about a small percentage of your cell phone bill into this fund, and it would have provided high capacity, future-proof broadband infrastructure to households in underserved, unserved, high poverty areas. Sounds easy enough. But in addition, SB 1130 would have allowed local governments and private internet service providers, like small ones and large ones, to apply for grants through this fund, promoting building infrastructure at the local level as well. SB 1130 passed off the Senate floor with a vote of 30-9, but it didn't make it out of the Assembly. It was really unfortunate that it didn't, but it certainly needed a lot of work, and we're committed to working with every single one of you, with United Parents, and ensuring that we're building more of a stakeholder coalition to ensure that we get this right for our students, for our families in California that need it the most. And so I welcome you, and I thank you so much for being engaged on that item, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, Senator Gonzalez. We are looking forward to work with you in the upcoming year.
My name is Brianna Maldonado, and I am a student with United Parents and Students, as well as an Animal Watts alum. While we push for more internet access across the state, we also want to make sure that no students fall behind during distance learning. While wealthier families can afford to hire private tutors during this time, many of us are struggling to remain engaged in our online classes. UPAS has been working with the mayor, the Housing and Community Investment Department, as well as the Los Angeles City Council to fund and implement a plan to hire 1,000 tutors to aid with distance learning for the city's neediest students to address learning loss while also providing meals at the same time. UPAS also urges the city and the county to use their contractual leverage to get internet service providers and telecom companies to provide free and/or lower-cost internet connections to low-income families to help close the digital divide. UPAS will also try to engage in different negotiations with the companies.
Councilmember, will you work with us to push internet service providers and telecom providers to fund pro bono technology access to our city's poorest residents?
I absolutely will. I think that the internet service providers and telecom providers have an obligation and a responsibility to provide more pro bono technology access in our communities. That's one reason why I support the program to dedicate millions of dollars to turn our rec centers into alternative learning centers, and also to create safer at parks programs, again providing structured learning environments for our youth with hardware, with hotspots, and with instructors to assist. We have to make sure that our youth are taking advantage of all these resources available. Our Safer at Parks program even includes some snacks for our participants during the day. In addition to these activities, we've also been instrumental in distributing laptops and hotspots to those individuals who are in need. And so we think everyone should be included. We think there's an obligation to make that happen, working with the internet service providers and the telecom providers. I think it has to be a collaborative effort. The city can do more to push, to encourage, and to facilitate the distribution of those resources. And I'm proud to be one who stands with you in making sure that those resources are available to our community.
Thank you for your leadership and commitment to ensuring all students and their families are able to learn effectively during these unprecedented times. UPAS is committed to working with the LA City Council along with the Housing and Community Investment Department to advocate for these programs. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Assistant General Manager of the Housing and Community Investment Department, Abigail Marquez. Mrs. Marquez has been a longtime strong ally of UPAS and has worked with us since our beginning. Mrs. Marquez, will you work with UPAS to continue to surface and meet the needs of low-income LA residents with respect to the effects of the COVID pandemic, particularly around housing and food security, public safety, and the learning loss that stems from the digital divide?
Hello, UPAS family. I am Abigail Marquez, the Assistant General Manager of the Housing and Community Investment Department for the City of Los Angeles. I wish we could gather in person, but unfortunately, COVID-19 continues to present a threat to our livelihood. The health disparities and economic downturn caused by COVID are severe, especially for so many of our families who have been impacted the most. Changes to jobs, schools, and childcare settings have been particularly disruptive to so many working families who were already struggling to make ends meet even prior to the pandemic, with many households struggling with high rents and the inability to save for a rainy day, much less for a year-long pandemic. Through HSID, we have coordinated a number of efforts to bring dollars back into the hands of low-income working families. At the start of the pandemic, with the support of the mayor and the mayor's fund, we issued $2 million in emergency food assistance to over 3,000 households. In April, we launched the Angelino Cart program, a cash assistance program that provided close to $37 million to Angelino families. In July, through the leadership of Council President Nuri Martinez, we announced the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and are on track to assist over 50,000 tenants with $100 million in emergency rental assistance. We have also assisted families with information and resources to access the economic impact payment, free tax preparation services, and enrollment in unemployment insurance benefits. In the coming months, with the help of United Parents and Students, the YMCAs of the Metropolitan Los Angeles, Great Public Schools Now, and several other community stakeholders, we hope to offer ongoing support to families who need access to fresh food, academic support, and many other critical services. I know these are challenging times, but our city leaders are committed to supporting families across our entire city, especially our most vulnerable. I am proud of my ongoing partnership with UPAS and pledge to continue to advocate for the needs of working families, youth, and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marquez.
Thank you to all the officials here with us today and to the parents and students who shared their stories. We're excited to work with you in the coming year to fight for resources we need during this unprecedented pandemic. Over the next year, United Parents and Students commits to fighting for healthy and affordable food in our grocery stores and better financing options so that more stores are able to locate to our neighborhoods. We're also committed to advocating for alternative public safety strategies that prevent violence before it begins, and also working to improve policing practices in our communities. We will continue to fight for eviction protections, affordable housing, and a rental registry. Finally, we will keep fighting for digital equity by working to strengthen Wi-Fi access throughout our neighborhoods and implement tutoring programs that can help all of our students succeed. For the families we serve in Washington, Tennessee, and New Mexico, we know some of the issues we discussed today overlap with the issues you're facing, but we also know that there are other issues that we need to address collectively. We can't wait to support you in organizing around local concerns in the coming months. Now we will hear from Assemblymember Reggie Jones-Sawyer, a longtime United Parents and Students ally who was with us at our last assembly at City Hall. Assemblymember Jones-Sawyer will provide us with some closing remarks.
Hi, this is Assemblymember Reggie Jones-Sawyer. I want to thank everyone that participated here today. It's vitally important that not only that you hear from us, but that we hear from you and that we come together, especially during the COVID-19 crisis, the coming ensuing economic crisis. If we come together, work together, we'll get through it better than anyone else that we know of. It is my commitment to make sure that we get together with the local, the state, and thankfully the federal government to come in and help California, Los Angeles, and the 59th AD and others come together to make sure that 2021 becomes one of the most successful years we've ever had.
Thank you, Assemblymember Reggie Jones-Sawyer, and thank you to all the parents and students and community members who joined us tonight to take action for our community. We will now transition into breakout sessions where we will have the chance to discuss what we heard and plan next steps, as well as celebrate our power together as a community. Don't forget that we will also be raffling off an iPad in each of the breakout rooms, so be sure to join us there. The breakout room links are listed below. See you there. Thank you.